Grand Rising, Grand Rising, Grand Rise, Grand Rise, gods and goddesses, titans, brujas, witches, adepts, celestials, star seeds, chaos beings, titans, initiates, cultists, adepts, whatever you are, remembering that today is the only day. In order to win this day, to seize this day, we must understand those things from the night before, or our shadow self. Three things that will always show, and these three things have a common constant. Three things will always show, and three things have a constant. The sun, the moon, and the truth. The sun in this representation is our identity and our soul. What our soul wants, our soul purpose. Our soul's purpose, our soul, things that will fulfill our soul. The moon represents the changes that we invest into to allow our soul purpose to always shine through. And the truth is anything that is even in challenging us. Because yesterday I talked about the aspects of that questioning. Anything that that can be based upon and serve you with that purpose in this case. And when I think about the truth, when I think about giving out that aspect of the truth for myself, setting my intentions, where I want to be, what I'm doing, allowing the things to fall away, allowing myself to reset, allowing myself to come back into that space. One of the biggest things that I think about when I'm setting my intentions is it meant for my soul purpose? Is it meant for am I just doing it to do it? I'm doing it to sustain. I'm doing it to keep living within that space. I'm doing it to say that I'm doing something. This becomes that truth that the changes in our lives that we need to make in that detoxing as we're coming into our rising need to be addressed. Remember that honesty is the ultimate key to your transparency to that middle point. So when we think about things, especially about why we do certain things, for most people's truth, we do things simply because it's giving us something that we needed from that space, or so I can say that I'm doing something. It's one thing for myself to wake up. It's one thing for myself to wake up and go to the gym, knock out, do an awesome work, kill myself in a workout, come here, come back, do meditation and elevation, set up, have the consultations that I'm about to do, or the sessions I'm about to knock out, or what am I building into. There's a difference between me doing this in the space of I'm supposed to be doing it. It's something that, there's a difference between doing something that is driving you, that is, you're being proactive with, is driving you, it's your passion, and then doing something that you're basically being pulled by. You feel pulled, Grand Rising. You feel pulled in one of two, you feel pulled in that direction. This is where we start understanding the aspect of addiction in itself, being addicted in an inherently flawed space. You feel drawn to doing something. You feel pulled to doing it. You feel restricted in that aligning of doing it. As opposed to it naturally aligns and it naturally flows. And it naturally flows, keeping you in that state of discomfort for you actually to grow. This is what I think about when I think about actually applying that algorithm of growth for myself. I don't want something that's going to pull me towards it. I don't want something that's pulling me towards it in that mindset that if I don't do it, I feel this immense amount of guilt. I want things in my life that is based on the work that I've been doing. I can become more open to it. This is on the aspect of expansion. I'm talking about constricting or expansion. Sometimes we feel drawn to doing something and it makes us smaller. We feel like we'll become smaller if we don't do it. We feel like we're not doing something, and then i.e. becoming smaller by not doing that. That next big break, that next big thing, or whatever it may be. So we feel drawn to doing it or being within that space based upon the tradition of I'm doing something. This is what I'm doing next. This is what I got to be doing. This is what, if I don't do this, and then it means I'm not doing everything that I can do. But sometimes in that aspect of being constricted, that aspect of constricting your growth, you'll do things in that space or attach to things within this space. Remember, attachment versus connection. You'll attach to things in that space to keep you, see, that's why I stay over here. This is why I like this side of town. This is why I like this place that I stay at. Because everything that I need is in arm's reach. Everything that I need is there. I don't have to go anywhere else. I don't have to challenge myself to do anything more because I'm getting everything from there. Remember yesterday, I was talking about the aspect of learning how to question to be wrong, being open to being wrong, because being wrong is going to open up that vulnerability. Being wrong is going to open up that aspect of clarity for you. So you're asking questions to understand. That was yesterday's take the exercise. You were using yesterday in the thought process to ask questions to better understand. You asking those questions to yourself to better understand yourself in that growth. You're asking the questions to anything around you to better establish those boundaries, reestablish those boundaries, reestablish those standards, reset that trajectory point. Because as long as you're always working on yourself, in the standards that you are setting as you're working by yourself, every time you take off to do something new, every time you take off, you're always going to land on your standards. That means your boundaries naturally stay in place. That means you're always taking off and you're always landing in your universe, your world. You're landing in your alignment. So you don't have to worry about if I do this. When they start doing their intentions, setting their manifestations, their mind starts to go everywhere because they're thinking like, but what about this and what about that and what about this? That's not on the alignment of your standard. That's not on the alignment of your trajectory that you set. That's not set into your line of intention. So that has nothing to do. If you look at it, it makes sense. It's there. It's like looking at a car accident riding down the street and you see a car accident. If you look at it, it's now a part of your scape. It's a part of your world because you looked at it. This is when you're learning to move with those blinders. This is when you're learning how to cultivate your space. This is all in the cultivation of your space. This becomes, everything that you're doing around you becomes a part of your ritual. It becomes a part of your ongoing spell. You can have multiple spells going on around you, multiple rituals going around you, but they're all interconnected based upon your energy. That becomes the aspect of when you're building on this level, everything, when you matriculate down to this level to reflect that physical in your life, when you're looking at your life, that sun, that moon, that truth of yourself, when you're building your space, when you're building what you need to build, when it comes time to build new conduits around you, are you expanding your thought process past the original process of thought that was based upon survival? This becomes the aspect when I tell people about the aspects of some people were raised on love and some other people were raised on survival. Grand Rise. Some people were raised on the aspects of love and some people were raised on the aspects of survival. So if I'm moving in the space of thinking about being raised in the aspects of love, like I broke down yesterday, I broke down in the show last night and on the video live last night, when you're thinking about that space where you're in right now, one of the biggest things that I had to come up out of, the original symbol of my childhood trauma was how my pops every single Friday gave his entire check to my mother. But I had to understand that why did my pops used to doing that unconsciously, because it didn't feel like love to me. But that's what I was taught and trained, that's what love was. But then it wasn't until I went back and had a conversation with my father, my pops, and he told me that he never met his mother. And the only paternal figure that was in his life was his grandmother or his father's mom, and she literally had him signing off her checks to him. So that trauma he was still living through. He was still holding on to that aspect of trauma. He was still holding on to it. So that translated into what he was doing in that present state. So until I understood until I was able to see the rising aspect, or the sun, or the solar aspect, the sun that kept rising up on, shining light on that, and see where that pattern was changing, I could not unlock my truth about where I was in that space. This is that lines within your shadow work. Being able to start seeing where that net lies and how you got stuck within that net in the first place. Seeing if your net was based upon, because some of us use our safety net that's based upon survival. And then when we're trying to rise into higher aspects of ourselves, obtain the consistency based on our discipline, and coming into that balance, we have a hard time letting go of that safety net that was based upon the grief, the shame, the pain, or whatever it may have been in that space. This becomes your process. I pulled 3 cards that I'm going to get into. It was just crazy, guys. The spirit said pull 3 cards. The 3 cards that I pulled for today was the World, which that's crazy how this card is the card to be pulled today. The World, the Moon, and the Knight of Pentacles. When I look at these 3 cards, this made me think about the Sun, the Moon, and the Truth. Because when I think about the Knight of Pentacles, that would be the Sun aspect of fire, the Sun aspect. The Moon, of course, would be the Moon card, and then the Truth would be the World. So if I'm looking at my space, my mental aptitude, where I'm at, how I'm growing, how I'm grooming myself, if I'm looking into that space and I'm moving forward into that space, I'm thinking about how is my world being shaped now? My new world, my new order, my new through the chaos, my new creation. What am I going to sustain within my world? Then I'm also looking at the changes that I have to go into building my new world. The true changes, the investing in the inherent changes that are going to happen for me to invest within my world, in my new truth, in my changes. I know that I went from 205 to 196. I'm 196 now. So I know with that comes changes within the physical dichotomy. My breathing is different. The way my face looks is different. These certain aspects that are built within the intention system that I build in going to the gym. Every day that I go to the gym, I have a multi-layered focus when I go to the gym. I set an intention of something that I want to take victory over. I put into my mindset something that I want to take victory over. Something that I need to work on in myself personally. Whether it's consistency with doing videos, the confidence level in the videos that I'm doing, expanding my reach, always thinking about the expansion, building into those levels. Whatever it may be, I put that intention, I set it into my mind before I even go to bed. So that's the intention I set before I go to bed. So when I'm waking up to that intention. So now I have that entire space So now I have this entire space that I'm working in to build that up. So I'm building that up. The things that I have to deal with while I'm building this space up. And that becomes the aspects of what you're looking at in your old world versus your new world. What drove you? What drove you in the old aspects of yourself? What drove you in how you're driven are two different things. What drives you in how you are driven are two different things. When you think about the aspects of being driven, with things that the thing that drives you or the thing that leads when you think about being the vehicle rather than being the catalyst inside the vehicle, sitting in the passenger seat and sitting in the main seat, that's the being driven and you driving. So what drives you? When you wake up and you start your day and you sit in your spaceship, we'll say spaceships, I don't know what bombs over Baghdad is in my head right now. You sitting in the spaceship and you sitting there, what's driving you throughout your day? What are you setting? What tone are you setting for the day? This is that thought process that you're grooming yourself. That consistency, what are you expecting out of the day that you have first, whatever you expect out of the day, you must first get out of yourself. Whatever you expect within your day is what you expect out of yourself. If you expect more out of your day than you're expecting out of yourself, then that's one of the reasons that you're not expanding. Because you're expecting more out of the day than you're expecting out of yourself. This goes into the aspects of correspondence. I know that when I get up and when I get up and go to the gym, I know that I got to make sure my pre-workout is shaken up. I got to make sure my smoothie was done the night before. I know there is a line of things that I have to set up. For me, there's a lot of things. There's things I have to do throughout my season, which would be that day before, that night before. That's my season to make me ready for that day. I'm up to 5 to 6 minute runs at the gym now, as opposed to when I started, it was like I would run for about 40 seconds, run for about a minute. So I'm marking my growth in my mind of how far and how fast that I'm growing. This is the building of yourself. Nobody starts at this position. Nobody starts at that winner position. Correction. You're aligning yourself with your position. Everything that around you is to teach you how to become the best you. That's what I think about with the Knight of Pentacles. The Knight of Pentacles represents the aspects of that new energy, that new abundance, that new currency. So when you're thinking about your world, the world that you created for yourself that was based on your identity, you really got to think like Megatron and Transformers, and you're pulling down everything new into this space. Damn everything else that's in this space that will not survive the impact of you growing in your life. What are you doing to impact your life? What are you doing right now that's impacting your life? How are you making your impact? Anything that can not survive the impact was not meant to be into that space. Everything dies. Everything transitions. Everything grows. What makes you feel like you don't deserve the best? I just want you to be the fucking best. Readings, natal chart analysis, spiritual products such as spiritual baths, awakening kits, setting up a consultation, the shadow reading, your shadow reading with the consultation, that's $65. The shadow reading with the consultation is $65. And we break down, we have that, it's an hour, best hour conversation that you will have in your life. Guaranteed if you're in the ability of wanting to grow and move forward. Natal chart analysis, break down What questions do you want? What do you want me to look for in your natal chart and bring it to the surface as we build that blueprint? That's $45. Reading start at $25 for a general 5-card reading, and they build up. Hit me in the inbox. The description is everything from on the GOD.com, my website. Code Alchemy, my shop for the clothing and the new tapestries. Stay tuned for a video ad coming out today, and to show that support. Also, this week's episode of the podcast, Breaking Down the Walls, is out today. Yes. What was I about to say? Yes, Breaking Down the Walls is out. New episodes every Tuesday at 6 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. This week's episode is in this description. You gotta be great. You gotta be great. You gotta be great. What else? I just want to see you be great. If you're interested in a reading, you're interested in setting up that dialogue to build, to see what you're needing in your life right now, how you're trying to get yourself to the next level, hit me up in the inbox. Other than that, have a great day. Be great. Be the best. Expand past your comfort zone. Expand till it hurts. I'm thinking about it right now. Right now, like my legs are on fire. My thighs are literally on fire because I did box jumps and planks today. My legs is on fire right now, sitting in this position. Like, this is the only thing that feels good, but now it's starting to feel bad. But I want you to be fucking great. Share this video, like this video. I love you. We love us. Ashe.